Yo, what's good? It's D Scaladayo, and I'm here with this UFC Fight Night Werdum versus Volkov analysis and predictions. Now, this card is in London, and it's an early card. I like the early cards. It's a good switch up, from the other fight cards that go on deep in the night. So, I think this is a nice switch up. Overall, this is a pretty decent fight night card. Um, it could have been a little bit better. I wish Darren Till was on the card. That would have been nice. It's a few good debutants happening in the prelims, so that's gonna be good as well. So I'm gonna do these four fights on the main card, starting first with Leon Edwards, who's recently entered the top 15 at welterweight. He's going against Peter Sobota, who's had a couple stints in the UFC. He's recently, I think he's gone like 4-1 in his recent stint. So this is a huge opportunity for him to get a win over a top 15 opponent. And I think Leon Edwards, he's gonna want to make a statement in this fight so he can get higher fights up in the top 15 ranking. So to break this down, both fighters are pretty decently well-rounded fighters. Striking wise, I think Leon Edwards will be the better striker in this fight. I just think with his athleticism, his speed, and his variety of attacks, I think he'll control the stand up. Peter Sabata, he has decent stand up as well. He recently came off a knockout of Ben Saunders in the last fight, so that was very impressive. So he does have some finishing ability on the feet, but I think Leon Edwards will control the fight if it stays on the feet. Grappling wise, both are also pretty decent grapplers. Leon Edwards, he averages about 1.6 takedowns. Peter Sabata 1.89, almost 2 takedowns a fight. Sabata, in certain fights, he likes to utilize a heavy takedown game. I think with Leon Edwards, I think he might find a little bit more difficulty trying to take Leon Edwards down. Leon Edwards, he doesn't have the best takedown defense. His is only at a 66.67, but he's an incredibly hard fighter to keep down. If he can even land a takedown on Leon Edwards, he'll be hard to keep down. And grappling wise, Peter Sabata, even though his striking is decent, he is much more of a submission threat. 59% of his wins have come by submission. So if he can establish top position, I think that will be where he can search to finish the fight. I think if he can establish top position, that will increase his chances of catching Leon Edwards in the submission. Leon Edwards, he's been one to go for a takedown himself. And in his last fight, he was in trouble against Brian Barberena, so he used his wrestling to really get back into that fight. I wouldn't be surprised to see Leon Edwards potentially go for a takedown. Recently he's been mixing it up more. He's been wrestling more, and he had that crazy submission win over Albert Tumanov, so he definitely has submission skills as well. This is a pretty good fight. I think in this fight, Leon Edwards, he's going to especially be wanting to make a statement in this fight. He probably feel like he's been getting looked over a little bit in his welterweight division. So for my prediction, I'm going to go with Leon Edwards by TKO in the second round. I think he'll catch Peter Sabata's timing and probably get him out of there in the second round. So I'm going to say Leon Edwards by second round TKO. Now for the next fight, we have a good bantamweight fight between Tom Dusankoy against Terrion Ware. Both of these fighters coming off a loss, so they're gonna be definitely looking to get a win. Terrion Ware, I believe he's 0-2. He doesn't want to go 0-3. Dusankoy, he's 1-1. Just lost to Cody Stamann in his last fight. Dusankoy was a dude with a lot of hype coming in. He kind of got halted a little bit by Cody Stamann, so he's going to look to be going 2-1 in the UFC. This is a pretty good matchup. Two predominantly strikers, so I expect this to be more of a striking match than anything. Tom Dusankoy, he has more of a traditional kind of Muay Thai style. He likes to utilize elbows. He likes to utilize a lot of elbows. Traditional Muay Thai style, very calculated striker. Terrion Ware, he's also very calculated striker. He likes to work at his own pace. He's extremely tough as well. He showed that in his last fight against Sean O'Malley. Terrion Ware, he has a predominantly boxing style. He likes to work off the jab and likes to rip combinations to the head and to the body. He kind of works at a slow pace for a bantamweight. But that has got him a lot of success. So this is a very important fight for him. He's gonna definitely want to win this fight. He doesn't want to go 0-3 because that's not a good look. So he might feel that, hey, my job is on the line in this fight. This is a really good matchup. Really good matchup. I think both of these fighters are incredibly tough. So I don't foresee a knockout. I see this being mostly a stand-up fight. I think Dustin Coy, he's gonna be a little faster than Terrion Ware. I think he's gonna be a little faster. I think Terrion Ware, he's definitely gonna want to apply pressure in this fight, just like he did against Cody Stamann. He wants to apply pressure but maintain a good distance so he can utilize his jab. But still work at his own pace. And I think he wants to avoid the clinch with Dustin Coy, so Dustin Coy can't utilize those elbows of his. So yeah, I think this is gonna be a really good fight. If it does go to the ground, I see Terrion Ware probably attempting a takedown. Maybe I don't really see Dustin Coy. I mean, maybe, but I don't really see much wrestling happening in this fight. I think it's gonna be mainly a stand-up fight. I predict it'll be a close fight. So for my prediction, I don't know. It's gonna be close. I can see it going either way. But I think Terrion Ware, he's definitely feeling more of the pressure in this fight. So I'm gonna go Terrion Ware by like a split decision. Next fight, we have the co-main event. We have number 4 ranked Jimmy Manuwa against number 11 ranked John Blachowicz in a rematch. In the first fight, Jimmy Manuwa, he won by unanimous decision. So yeah, for Blachowicz, this is a really good opportunity. He's facing the number 4 ranked person. A win here could put him right there in the top 5 and put him a fight or two away from a title shot. So it's a very important fight for him and Jimmy Manuwa. He's coming off that knockout loss to Volkan Ozdemir. So yeah, he's definitely want to come back and perform, and he's at home right now. So we're gonna see. Yeah, the first fight was mainly a stand-up fight. Blachowicz, he was very he was overly cautious in the first fight. He was surprisingly cautious, like he was scared of Jimmy Manuwa's power, and Jimmy Manuwa was just stalking him the whole time, and Blachowicz was pretty much on the defensive the whole fight, and that surprised me in that first fight because Blachowicz, he's a pretty well-rounded fighter, he has really good striking, really good accurate striking. He can take it to the ground, he can wrestle, and he has a very underrated submission game as well. And we know Jimmy Manuwa, he's a stalking, aggressive, powerful striker. Mostly kickboxing style. Yeah, 88% KO rate. So Jimmy Manuwa, when he wins, he gets the knockout. John Blachowicz, I think, in this fight, he wants to mix it up, and he can't be afraid of Jimmy Manuwa's power like he was in the first fight. He has to engage and he has to mix it up. Jimmy Manuwa, he has decent takedown defense at like 68%. I think John Blachowicz, he should definitely look to take the fight to the ground and test out Jimmy Manuwa's grappling. Jimmy Manuwa, I don't think his grappling has been tested all that much in the UFC. So I think John Blachowicz has the distinct grappling advantage in this fight. And I think striking wise, Jimmy Manuwa, his power is what makes the difference on his feet. I think his power is gonna have John Blachowicz second guessing himself a little bit. I think Jimmy Manuwa, he will be able to employ his game more and feel less threatened by the takedown because of his power. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. They both land pretty well. Jimmy Manuwa at around 3.5 landed strikes per minute. John Blachowicz is about 3.40 strikes landed per minute. So usually they're both they're around the same dimensions as well as far as height and reach. So how I see this fight going, this fight all depends on if John Blachowicz, if he can land the takedown in this fight. If he can land the takedown and maintain top control, in this fight. Because I think if he can do that, he should be able to win this fight. He's been on a good winning streak so far. But if he does not do that, if he's not aggressive in this fight, he's gonna lose because Jimmy Manuwa can work. He can stay at his own pace. Jimmy Manuwa, he likes to work at a pretty slow pace. Even though he gets the knockout, he works at a methodical pace and he gets the takedown. So I think John Blachowicz, he's gonna wanna establish the pace in this fight, and he's gonna wanna utilize his striking and his grappling skills in this fight. So I think it's gonna come down to if John Blachowicz is striking and his grappling in this fight. But for my prediction, I am gonna go with Jimmy Manuwa by decision again. I just think usually with rematches, I tend to always pick the person who won the first fight. So I think he's gonna pretty much just control. He's just gonna control the fight with his striking in this fight. He's gonna be the aggressor, I believe, in this fight. And I think John Blachowicz, he'll still be there. Like, he'll be defensive enough, to survive the striking. He's gonna probably grapple, and he's probably gonna rush the grapple anytime he gets hit with anything clean and powerful. So yeah, I think Jimmy Manuwa is gonna win this fight by decision. Now for the main event, we have Fabricio Werdum versus Alexander Volkov. Fabricio Werdum, he's been really active. He's definitely trying to get back to that title. He's gonna have to do a lot of work for it though, cause he's already fought Stipe. And Alexander Volkov, I believe is 2-0 in the UFC. I believe 2-0 or 3-0 in the UFC so far. This is a big fight for him. If he can beat Werdum, I think he definitely has a claim for the title shot. He hasn't fought Stipe yet, so I think if he beats Werdum in his fight impressively, he definitely has a claim for a title shot. Striking wise, both of these fighters are really good strikers. Fabricio Werdum, we know over the years he's developed a really good striking arsenal. And Alexander Volkov, he's known for his striking as a heavyweight. Really good striker himself. So yeah, I think striking wise, the fight is gonna be more closer. I give the slight edge to Volkov in the striking, very slight edge in the striking. I think he can use his range. He's gonna be much taller. Only 3 inches, but he's gonna be taller, having a longer reach. Volkov, he's a very intelligent striker, as he showed against Stefan Struve. Fabricio's a really good striker, but Fabricio, he can get reckless at times, and Volkov can definitely catch him. As a heavyweight, neither of these two fighters are incredibly powerful as heavyweights. They do have power, but they're mostly volume. They have power, but mostly volume strikers. But I give the slight edge to Volkov. But I do think Fabricio, striking wise, he'll be faster. He'll be the faster fighter in this fight. So that could help him out in the striking wise. But yeah, I think both are really good strikers, and it'll be a good match if the fight stays on the feet. But grappling match, but as for the grappling, is a very huge discrepancy in the grappling. Fabricio Werdum, if Fabricio Werdum can land the takedown, I think he'll submit Volkov really fast if he can land the takedown. Volkov, it says he has a 75% takedown defense, but I think he's even worse than that. It just hasn't been tested all that much, but I think Fabricio, he's not a strong wrestler himself, so that's why that's what makes this fight interesting, to see if he can take the fight to the ground. I'm pretty certain he will attempt to take the fight to the ground. I think Volkov, his takedown defense is really not good, even though it looks decent statistically right now. From what I've seen from his fights, I don't think his takedown defense is really good. His submission defense is not really good either. He's pretty much a striker. If Fabricio can take this fight to the ground, I think he should easily submit Volkov in this fight. So yeah, Volkov, he's gonna wanna keep the fight standing. Fabricio isn't the strongest wrestler. He rarely even wrestles, I think, really. So it shouldn't be too much of a challenge for Volkov to defend those takedowns, but we'll see. Fabricio, I think he's definitely gonna hunt for the takedown in this fight. If he said he wants to approach this fight smartly, and I think by him saying that, he definitely wants to take the fight to the ground and submit him. So I think he's gonna do that. For my prediction, I am going to say Fabricio Werdum in this fight by submission in the first round. I think Fabricio, just like Walt Harris' fight, he's going to try to take this fight to the ground immediately. And I think once he gets it there, he's going to submit Volkov whichever way it comes. Armbar, rear naked choke, whatever. I see a submission for him quickly if he can take the fight to the ground. So yeah, y'all can comment, like, tell me what y'all think. Subscribe if y'all want to. I'll be doing all the UFC fight cards. Peace and salute.